Hey, welcome to the Book Click. My name is Tim. I am the author of a book called The Mice Storm and Rise of the Dragon Witch. But what I'm doing today is interviewing another author. Her name is Imogen Knowed, and she's got a new book out that just came out. I think it was at the end of 2024, and wanted to interview her so you can find out a little bit more about her book. And maybe it would be something you'd be interested in picking up. So let's get to it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Today, joining me on the author interview is Imogen Knowed, and she's going to be talking about her book, Whiskers, and Wine. Welcome to the chat.
Hi, thanks.
All right. I guess before we jump into the book, tell me a little bit about you. First of all, is this a pen name? I have a feeling it might be.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, totally
then in that case, you probably don't want to get too in-depth into you, but I guess tell me a little bit about you. How long you've been writing, that sort of thing?
Well, I'm pretty open about my real life, because I do write, a lot of what I write is kind of based on that. For example, like my books are based in Minnesota because I'm in Minnesota, and
Okay.
I'm a video game programmer, which all of my characters are video game programmers. So I've been writing maybe 2-3 years.
Okay. How many books do you have now? Two?
Two, yes.
Two, yeah. That's what I thought. Well, then let's go ahead and start talking about the book. Tell me a little bit about it, what it's called, when was it released?
So it's Whiskers, and Wine, and I released it December 31st, 2024. So I had 6 hours left in the year, and I accomplished my goal of finishing the dang book. So
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, what's funny is I released mine, The Rise of the Dragon Witch, on my birthday, December 10th.
That's my birthday too.
Oh, that's awesome.
I wonder if we're the same year.
There you go. Well, the cool thing is my first book, I wrote it in a year. I started it on my birthday and I released it on December 10th. Mm-hmm. And I was actually trying to get it done to say I did it in a year and I did it on my birthday. Mm-hmm. This time it just happened to be my birthday again. I was like, oh, okay.
That's cool.
That's fine. But now I'm like, I probably can't do that ever again because there's no way I could time that out right one more time.
Yeah, my first one was on Christmas Eve, and then my second one was on New Year's Eve. So, I don't know, I need to pick another Eve for my next one.
That works. All right, so this is what I call the dreaded blurb, or what is your book about? And I kind of want to ask that because, just like a 3 to 5 sentence description to let people know if they're interested in picking up this book and checking it out. What's it about?
Okay.
And I know it's hard to do.
So I don't want to just say the blurb that I always give on the writing or whatever, but it is a book about a girl named Adley. She's kind of going through some hard times. And essentially she asks the universe for someone to love and maybe a cat, and the universe more than delivers, gives her 2 people to love that happen to turn into 2 cats. So yeah, that's what the book is, and it's because you're asking for people who might want to be interested in reading it. It's very smutty, so it's spoiler warning or whatever the word is for that. It's a smutty book about.
No worries. So it is definitely a spicy book.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that is pretty much all the rage right now, so I think that's definitely an added bonus.
Hopefully.
Is the book a standalone or is it part of a series?
It's currently standalone, but I do plan to release other books in a series. It has an ending, so it's not what is the word, a cliffhanger or anything like that. I'm hoping to make some more books related,
sort of in the same universe.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So it can be a series. So if they pick it up and they like it, they know that down the road something else might come along that's from that similar world,
Yeah.
and they'd have more books to pick up from you.
Yeah, I went ahead and like made it a series on Amazon and everything because I do plan to make some more. My next book will not be one from the series, but I do have some kind of like planned out for it.
This is a question I always ask because everybody talks about what their book is about, but why would someone want to read your book? Like, what would be the biggest draw to say, I've definitely got to get this one and check it out?
That's the ultimate question, right? That's the thing we're all trying to figure out.
Well, let's start with what's the genre?
Yeah.
Like what would you call the genre?
So it is a romance. It's I would consider it a cozy romance.
Okay.
It's kind of a slice of life. Yeah, the book is about this girl whose these two cats show up and then they all start banging. I mean, that's like the high level, right? But it's really about people who aren't perfect, just trying to be perfect for each other, I guess is a good way to say it. Like, they are all battling their own like demons, but they're all very concerned with being the best possible versions of themselves for each other, right? And so it's really nice to see the characters that they have these flaws that, you know, I relate to because I've wrote some of my flaws in them, but then they're still loved and they're still appreciated and they're all trying to accommodate each other and be the best they can for each other. And I really like that aspect of it. I think that's like really fun, like heartwarming aspect to it. It's also really interesting to see these characters who like literally they popped into our universe, met this girl, and they're like, oh, she's hot. I gotta be with her. But then like trying to figure out how the heck does that work? Like, how do we exist in this world that like we literally just manifested into the world and now we don't know how to like pay for stuff, you know? Like, so it's a lot of them just trying to navigate that. Like, she's like, oh, I'm real hot for these dudes, but like, what, do I have to like just take care of them for the rest of my life now? Like, what does this mean? And so it's just kind of a fun way I thought it was a fun way to focus on not just they're hot and they bang, but like how do they exist like outside of that? Like when they're not, you know, being hot and banging. Like what else? Like how do they exist in this world? And so that was my favorite things to write about it, where the scenes where they're just going to the store and just trying to figure out like, well, how do I like go to the store and not let everybody know that I'm not a human, you know, and stuff like that.
That's perfect. I think that definitely captures something that somebody's going to go, yeah, I think that would be something I would want to check out. I think that's cool.
Well, I hope so.
Where did the idea for the book come from?
That's a good question, because I feel like there's lots of different things that inspired it. Like, I mean, you could see this orange cat up here, right? Mm-hmm. He's a cast of character. So he was an inspiration in a sense. Like I watched his like mannerisms and stuff to like help me kind of think of like how these men would act when they were like in their cat-like form. They're not called cats, but I'm not going to use the word because no one's going to know what the heck I'm talking about. So, but I read a lot of like other books in the genre of like shifters. I really like that genre a lot. I really like the like why choose genre, which is for those who don't know, which is where the main character doesn't have to choose between the love interests. They could just have all the love interests they want. And so it was inspired by a lot of that. But like I joke that I think like most of the shifter books tend to be around either werewolves or monsters or like dragons and stuff. And I joke that this is like a shifter book, but for cat people. So, you know,
that's great.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. But the best part about it is it's unique.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that no one ever else has written a cat, but it is less prevalent. There's not as many books with like men who shift into cats.
How long did it take you to write the book?
That's another interesting question because that doesn't have an exact answer, I guess. I started writing it right after I finished my last one, which was in 2022, 23, 22, 23.
They're all running together now these years.
I don't even know. Yeah, it was. So I started writing it, and I wrote. It was going to be a completely different book. Originally, it was going to have like this weird like subplot about like how one of them like murdered somebody in their universe and was like escaping, and like it had all this like stuff, and it was going to be a novella. And I had written that. It was going to like be very short, where like they come in and they essentially once they had like their first like big scene together, that was going to be kind of the end. But instead, I ended up taking a lot of that subplot out, rewriting the characters, and the big scene where they hook up. That's at the beginning now, so it's like, so if I take like the whole time that I did it, like I wrote that, but then I sat on it for like 2 years, and I didn't really do anything with it, and then I took vacation during the Thanksgiving week, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish it because I just needed to like edit it, like write the last scene, and then I was like, it went from like a 50-page thing to a 50,000 word thing to 150,000 words, I think. Like it just like blew up and completely changed it, and so I went really hard on it for a month and a half. I mean, because from Thanksgiving to December 31st is like that whole full rewrite. So like there were like 2 versions of it at that, like 2 other versions of it, and then went through like the multiple rounds of editing, and then I upset my editor by like throwing some like chapters in like right at the end. So like I would say like the 2 years, 3 years, but then like a month and a half of just like really hard on it, of like, like 80 hours a week, kind of really hard.
I know a lot of people like certain narration or point of views. What's the point of view of this book? Is it first person, third person, that sort of thing? It's
first person, present tense, and it shifts perspective. It has three point of views.
So 3 different ones. Okay.
Yeah, I would say the main character is the woman who's like, if you look at the cover, she's like, her name is Adley. She, I would say, is the main character, but like, so her point of view takes up about 50% of the book, but the other 50% are the other 2 guys, or the 2 guys like talking. So. And you sort of put their name at the top of each chapter to let people know that that's the POV? Yeah, originally I tried to make it explicit for each chapter, and like I know a lot of people will do like the chapter number, and then the name of that chapter is the name of the character, but I ended up changing point of view mid-chapter, so it would be like the chapter, and then the heading would be the name of the character, and then okay. And yeah, so there are some chapters where it has all 3 point of views in there. So let's say that this becomes wildly popular, because we know it's going to happen, and takes off, and they want to make a movie out of it. Who would you cast to play your main character? Would you say Adley? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who would you cast? Who would you want to see play her? I wrote down her name, and now I've already forgot. I am not good with remembering actors' names. I don't. So that's also a hard question, because I have like very specific people in my head for them. Oh, and yeah. If I were to picture an adaptation, I actually would picture an anime instead of a character. Ooh. But who would do the voice? I don't know. But if I had to pick like a human to do it, the woman who was in the most recent season of Bridgerton, whose name I do not know.
Was she also on Dairy Girls?
Yes, I'm pretty sure she was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
only really know her from the Bridgerton, though.
Okay.
But yeah, I would. Is it Nicola something? Coughlin?
I'll look it up. I'll throw it up here on the screen.
Yeah.
Now that your book is done and you've published it and it's out in the world, is there anything you would go back and do differently? Like, if you could go back in time, and what piece of advice would you give yourself before you finished editing?
It, like I said, it was originally going to be like one book, a whole different book, and I had written that, and then I sat on it, and it just like stressed myself out with it because I wasn't happy with it, and I just didn't want to work on it, but I put a pre-order time out for it, and I set it out a year later. I'm like, surely I could finish up this last little scene and get it edited in a year. And I was like, did not happen. So I instead just like, it just became this thing that stressed me out, and because I didn't like the book. I didn't like it the way it was. And so I would, and it felt like it was a reasonable decision. Like I said, the first draft was done. It just had like a little, I thought, just a little bit of changes that I needed to make. So I would not do that again. I would not pre-order it, put it up for pre-order. I don't know if I ever even would put it up for pre-order, any kind of pre-order, but if I were, I would wait until I was in like much closer to the ends of my edits and everything. Because that was that kind of messed things up, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Is there a scene in your book that makes you smile every time you think about it? Or maybe even just a character or something like that? Is there something that every time you had to read it when you were editing, that was your favorite?
So there's a scene, there's a few scenes that I really enjoy, but one of them I think might be my favorite, like when there's like towards the end, like they're kind of like fighting, and one of the characters, like he's a total dork and he's always like scheming and he's trying to convince the female lead to like not be mad at him anymore. And so he thinks that he's going to do it just by being hot and playing frisbee and just like, oh, I'm gonna seduce her. And it's just like, he's just being like a total like blowhard dork, you know, just like strutting around without his shirt on, thinking he's like seducing her. And he's like, I'm a frisbee sex god. And then it like cuts to her perspective, and she's like, I wish I could see into that blowhard's head, because he's just like strutting around. And I thought that was really fun, because it just really shows like he's like an what is the word, unreliable narrator, right? Like he thinks he's like amazing, and he is amazing, but like he thinks he's like doing one thing. He thinks he's being super hot and amazing and sexy, and she's just like, he's being a total dork. And I like that scene. That's my favorite. I joked, that was one of the chapters that I kind of added in towards the end when I was supposed to be finalizing edits, and I was like, I'm sorry, I wrote a love letter to frisbee for some reason instead, so please, I don't know.
Do you have any like Easter eggs maybe in there in the book that maybe something only you would know, or like inside jokes or anything like that? I always like to find out if there's something that sometimes the readers may not ever figure out what it means, but is there anything in there that you sort of hid to as a inside joke to yourself?
There's a few different inside jokes to me, and then also to readers of the genre. Like there's a joke about, like, because it's considered a why choose genre, like that's the name of it. And there's like a scene where one of the characters is asking the female lead like what kind of underwear she likes, and he makes like a joke about like why choose. And there's also like a bunch of, for myself, there's a bunch of reference to different like anime and video games that I really enjoy. So Yeah, like like the main character talks about how much she loves these certain video games, like that's because I love them. So
That's cool.
yeah.
And this is going to be a weird one, but does your book have a theme song?
Yeah, it does. Anxiety by Megan Thee Stallion.
There you go.
The Megan Thee Stallion, I dedicated the book to her because I love her. But I also had like the main character. That was a quality I gave her as well, where she really loves Megan Thee Stallion.
Which of your characters in your book would you want to go out and have dinner or drinks with?
I guess all of them. They're. I mean, I wrote like my two ideal men, right? You know, so like I wouldn't mind having dinner with them, and then the main character, I like her too. I love them all. They're very they're all very dear to me, so I would love to hang out with all of them.
You could sit back and watch their banter live.
Yeah. So. Yeah, like there's like they go out and they eat sushi. Like I wish I could go eat sushi with them. You know, that would be fun.
There you go. Were there any wild, interesting facts that you learned while you were maybe doing any kind of research for the book? Maybe something you didn't know before you started?
I had to research the menstrual cycle of cats. They don't have a menstrual cycle. If that.
Okay, there you go.
So that's a weird one that I had to research. I also had to because one of the characters is like a theoretical physicist, and they came to the world through portals, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make sure that I had like the words for describing like, you know, the multiple dimension, like study of multiple dimensions. I wanted to make sure I had that correct. So yeah, like just a lot of like stuff about like anatomy of cats and how cats work, like how they can see different colors with their, you know, like yeah, also like just kind of some weird things, like, you know, like because they have like ears on the top of their head, and like this isn't necessarily something I researched, but something I had to like think about, like how would they wear headphones, you know?
Was there anything that was hard to write, like anything in the book that just was really hard for you to get on paper?
There were a few scenes that were hard, but I actually removed a lot of those, the ones that I struggled with. Of the scenes that like stayed in, the one that was hard, I would say, is there's a scene where I needed them to be able to like reveal themselves as like men to her instead of like cats. And I wanted it to be kind of impactful, like I wanted them to almost kind of like come and save her, I guess. And that scene was hard because I really was struggling to like figure out the line between like what was intense enough to where they would need to save her, but also like not so intense that I wouldn't like traumatize my readers or, you know, make my main character seem like, I also didn't want her to seem like she needed a lot of saving, you know? So like that was like a really hard scene to kind of figure out like the right balance of, and I'm not sure if I found the right balance, but I picked something and I went with it. So
we've gone on for a while. What would be your big final pitch to get people to check out your book, to want to buy it? What would you say to wrap this up, to say, you know, buy my book because?
I would say buy my book because it has really lovable, fun characters, and they're flawed, but they're all like doing their best, and they're not emotionally mature, but they try really hard to be emotionally mature, and they just try to love each other, and it's I think it's sweet, and I think it's fun.
It's a great escape entertainment.
Yeah, it's cozy. I would say it's cozy. It has some elements that are not so cozy, but the general vibe is very cozy and just fun, sweet.
And where can people find your book? I know there are a lot of different places out there, but is it everywhere? Is it only Amazon? How does that work? So
you can get it, the ebook version on Amazon. The You can get it, like you could buy the ebook or you could get it from Kindle Unlimited. I'm on there. But the paperback is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
What I'm going to do is have the link to the book, certainly at least the Amazon link, down in the description. And so people can go now and check it out. And the one thing I will recommend that you do, and this is what I did, this is how I knew I wanted to interview you, is I did read the sample. And I thought, this is really fun. It was great writing. It was very fun, very entertaining. And so I asked, even if you're not sure after, hearing a little bit more about it in this video, go check out the sample. Read the sample, and I guarantee you will get hooked and you will enjoy it. If they were going to follow you on social media, I'm sure there's a couple of different places, but I can actually put your handle here on the video. So where are you on social?
I am most active on Threads and Instagram.
Okay.
So I'm on like TikTok and Blue Sky, but TikTok doesn't like my cover, so I've gotten banned.
Shadow banned.
I'm like, yeah, they sent me like a warning and everything. They're like, but they're not all there. I don't know, whatever. TikTok, you do you, TikTok. But yeah, but mostly Instagram and Threads. So.
All right. Well, I'll make sure we've got your handle on here, and that's pretty much it. Anything else maybe that I forgot?
No.
That's it. Well, thank you guys very much for watching the video. And if you can subscribe, we're going to be doing a lot more author interviews. We're going to, try to throw out some advice every once in a while on writing, on advertising, a lot of different things. So if you can subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And like the video if you got anything out of it. Leave a comment down below if you have questions for her. And if you've read the book and you can say, hey, definitely check this out, let people know down in the comments below. That would be very cool. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
All right, say goodbye to everybody.
Bye.